The story of Danda and the beggar. There is a man, his name is Mr. Danda. The name of his wife is Mrs. Echo Danda. Mr. and Mrs. Danda have three kids. Their names are Kama, Cindy, and Summer. They live in Port Harcourt. But Mr. Danda has a driver. The driver is living with them. The driver has a wife. The wife has two boys. Mr. Danda works in the hospital. He is an accountant. They live in a beautiful house. Mr. Danda has a beautiful mansion. You can see there is a garden, there is flower. He has a field, beautiful field, and they also have playground. Every Saturday, Mr. Danda's kids and the driver's children and their neighbors, they will gather in the playground to play, and they will sing willy 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 wee pam pam pam. Mr. Danda lives here with his wife and the children. Mr. Danda has a gardener. His name is Dogo. The gardener is always working in the garden. He trims the flower, he removes cobwebs from the flower, and he cleans the compound. He also has a security man. He is standing by the gate. The security guard's name is Mr. Musa. Mrs. Ekodanda is cooking in the kitchen. Mr. Danda is at home. He did not go to work because today is Saturday. The children are playing in the garden. They did not go to school too because it is Saturday. Their school days are Monday to Friday. One day, Mr. Danda was taking his children to school. The time was 6:30 a.m. He saw a beggar standing behind his gate. "I am hungry. Please give me some money," cried the beggar. Mr. Danda did not ignore the beggar. He stopped his car and gave him some money through the glass. "Thank you, thank you," cried the beggar again. He waved at them and walked away. Mr. Danda drove the children to the school. One sunny afternoon, the beggar was standing again at Mr. Danda's gate. There was an approaching car. It was Mr. Danda's car again, but this time it was not Mr. Danda. It was his wife, Mrs. Echo Danda. She went to grocery store. She bought cabbage, cucumber, and carrot for salad. She bought snacks for the children. She also buy diapers for Soma. Soma is the baby of the house. Soma is 1 year and 8 months. She has started learning how to talk. She talks slowly. Mr. Danda also bought tomatoes and meat for the family's stew on Sunday. Please give me some money. I am very hungry. My stomach is empty. The beggar cried as usual. But Mrs. Ekodanda did not have any money with her. Oh, she has spent all her money in the mall. Oh, yeah. She felt bad that she had no money to give to the hungry beggar. What did she do? Mrs. Ekodanda has pity on the beggar. She does not want to let him go. Mrs. Ekodanda brought out the snacks she bought for the children and gave to the beggar. She said to herself, she murmured in her mind, I have 3 plantain at home. I will fry them for the kids. She told herself. Thank you, thank you. The beggar cried as usual and walked away. We give glory to God, replied Mrs. Danda. Pim, 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 pim. The car horn and Malam Musa, the security guard, ran to open the gates. One day again, Mr. Danda was getting ready to go to his office. Kama begged his father to allow him to carry his briefcase to the car. Mrs. Ekodanda, Cindy, and Summer escorted him to his car to bid him goodbye. The kids did not go to school because it was their midterm break. Kids, what will I buy for you when I'm coming back? Asked Mr. Danda. Cheese balls and Capri Sun, the kids chorused. All right, my children, I shall buy them when I return in the evening, said Mr. Danda. Bye, Daddy. Bye, Daddy. The kids said intermittently and waved at the same time. Bye, good kids, Mr. Danda replied, waving his both hands. When Mr. Danda returned from his office, he did not return with the cheese balls and the Capri Sun as promised. Oh, but did he forget to buy it? No, 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 no. He actually bought them. But he did not enter inside his house with it. What happened to the children's Capri Sun and cheese balls? Everybody tried to inquire. He tried to explain to them what happened to their snacks. Papi son, kiss ball, papi son, my papi son, my kiss ball, my kiss ball, my kiss ball, cried baby Summer. Summer was still a little baby, like I told you. She was just barely 2. She was still learning to talk. She could not pronounce cheese balls and Capri Sun properly. It was cheese balls she was calling kiss ball, and the Capri Sun, papi Sun. Ha ha ha. I bought them, but I gave them to the beggar because I had no money left to give him. Ah, Mr. Danda explained to his kids. Daddy, oh, mommy, oh, my papi son, my papi son, my papi son, cried Summer the more. It is all right. Don't cry anymore. Daddy has sent the gardener to buy them. Mrs. Ekodanda consoled the children who were almost crying on top of their voices. The gardener went out to the nearest store and bought plenty cheese balls and Capri Suns for the kids, and everybody was happy. One day, Mr. Ekodanda went to his office and the children were in the house playing. It was not a school day because the school has gone for vacation. So they were in their house playing. Mrs. Ekodanda put the food on the fire and slept off. The food got burned and the house too got burnt. Fire! 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 The crowd screamed. The cry is coming from the crowd who have gathered around Mr. Danda's house. The flames are all over the building, all over the rooftop. Outside people were coming from the outsides calling for help, but nobody was going into the house to help them because the house is on fire and they are afraid of their life. A man ran to the street and was shouting, "A house is burning." It is Mrs. Tadanda's house. The smoke is coming out through the glass house. Who can help? Call the firefighter. Call the firefighter. Call the firefighter. And immediately the beggar heard about it and he jumped from his sitting place. He threw the clothes, his rag clothes, from his head. He wore his boots and looked up and saw Mr. Danda's house on fire. Mr. Danda had gone to work, but his wife and children were at home. Mrs. Ekodanda was sleeping in her bedroom still. Even while people were still shouting and screaming, she was still in her deep sleep. The children were in the sitting room. Everywhere in the house had been covered by the smoke when Mrs. Danda woke from her sleep. The poor woman was helpless. She doesn't know what to do. She was looking for her children. They were crying, they were standing at the balcony crying, waving at the crowd to come and help them. The smoke was everywhere. She was almost suffocating. She was screaming on top of her voice, "Help me! Help me! Help us! Fire! Help us!" But nobody was coming forth. These men were running for their lives. Do you know who they are? Their names are Malam Musa, and Dogo. Malam Musa is the security guard, and Dogo is the gardener. The moment they heard the voice of their madam, "Help, help," they flee away. They don't want the fire to catch them. They don't want to get hot. Where are they running to? Are they running to go and call the firefighter? No, they are running for their life. These men live in Mr. Danda's house. They were the security guard and the gardener. Dogo is the gardener, while Malam Musa is the security guard. They were running away because of the fire. because they were frightened. They didn't want to be hurt by the fire. They were screaming for help. Help! Help! Mrs. Danda and the children are in the fire. Help! Come and help them. Go in there now and save them. One man intercepted them while they were running in the streets. Go where? Dogo say. You want me to die? I'm afraid of the fire. Oh. I don't want to go and die. So you will be there and your gas kit will die in the fire. Yes, now. Is it my fault? Am I the one that puts on the fire? Dogo said and ran away the more. By now, the kids now and their mother were standing in the gallery. The smokes and the flames had covered the doors. They could not find their ways out from the burning house. They were screaming for help, but no one was coming. The guard and the gardener have run away. The crowd were afraid of the fire. They did not want to be hurt by the fire. Oh no, oh no. Is it how the family of Mr. Danda will waste away? Mr. Danda is a kind man. He is a generous man. Why is no one coming to help them? Why is nobody showing interest to help them? Why is everybody running away, including the people living with them, the people he is providing for? Oh, 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 it is a pity. No one was going to save them. They were all standing waiting for the firefighters. The firefighters is nowhere to be found. The neighbors have put out call to the firefighters. They promise that they will be there in few minutes. Few minutes, few minutes, few minutes, no firefighter. And the children and the mother, they kept calling, they kept crying, they wave anybody that passed, they wave, come and help us, we are dying, the house is full of smoke, we cannot breathe, please help my children. Suddenly, a man was seen running out from the gathered and screaming crowd. He was in the crowd. He ran out, covering his head and body with a thick cloth. He was running into the burning house. He went to the back and came out again with a firefighting kit. Nobody knew where he got them from. What people saw was a man who went into the house with thick clothes covering his body. He came again well kitted, as if he is among the firefighters. He signaled a man to give him the rope, the watering pad Mr. Dogo used for the flowers, and he mixed the water with detergent. He was running into the burning house. He was going to rescue Mrs. Ekodanda and the children. Who was this man? No one could tell who he was because he was covering his face. He was carrying a bucket of water mixed with detergent on his head and also holding the pot. When he go to the entrance of the house, he pour the bucket of water on the thick clothes he was he was using on himself before he got changed into his kit. He did all that to prevent his body and clothes from catching the fire. And he wanted to use them to give to Mrs. Ekodanda to cover herself and the children so that when they will be coming out, none of them will be hurt. Water and detergent are known to use to put out the fire. The thick cloth will protect their hair, head, and body. It will equally stop the smokes from suffocating them. The man suddenly came out with Mrs. Danda and Danda's family. He has rescued them from the fire. Then he removed the cloth from his face. Who? It was the beggar. Wow! What a brave heart. People were amazed. The people were shouting, wow, 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 wow. What a beggar, what a man, what a brave heart. Mrs. Ekodanda, Kama and Cindy and Summer were not hurt by the fire, but the beggar was hurt on his legs and right shoulder. Mr. Danda has just arrived from the office. He was phoned by the neighbors about his burning house. He arrived with the firefighters. But when they arrived, he saw the beggar coming out from his burning house with his family. He ran to meet them. Mr. Danda hugged his wife and the children who were crying and panicking. He went to the beggar and knelt down. Thank you! Thank you! Thank you for saving my family from the fire. Mr. Danda cried this time. He mimicked the beggar the way he used to thank him when he gave him gifts. I help your family because you are always helping me. You are a kind-hearted man. I cannot be here and see your family born into ashes. I will not be happy. You and your family have shown me kindness, the beggar said. It took the firefighter only 30 minutes to put out the fire. Luckily, the fire did not cause much damage to the building. The damages were only in the kitchen. It was the electric stove. Mrs. Ekodanda forgot the pot of food on the fire and slept off. That was what caused the fire. When the firefighters and the crowd dispersed, Mr. Danda took the beggar to the hospital to dress his burns. He was admitted at the hospital by the doctor. The doctor said the burns on his right leg were deep and they treated him. This is the beggar with Danda and his family. He is no longer in the hospital. His wounds have been healed. And do you know what? He is no longer a beggar. He lives with Mr. Danda and his family afterwards. He is now their new gardener. He has replaced Dogo, the gardener, because he ran away. The beggar told Mr. Danda his real name. His name is Uncle Joe. Uncle Joe later told Mr. Danda his life story. He was not really a beggar. He was a victim of circumstances. He came back from work and learnt that his house caught fire and burnt his wife and his son. He could not bear the pain. He could not forgive himself because he was not able to save his wife and his son. He therefore resorted to be in the street, to live in the street, to spend his whole life in the street and become a beggar. But thank God, he said, another opportunity came. He was able to save the family of Danda, and that is the happiest thing that has happened in his life. Today, Uncle Joe is no longer a beggar. Uncle Joe now lives with Mr. Danda and he is paid well. He lives a normal life. This is the end of our story, the Danda and the beggar. It is good to help people because kindness begets kindness, meaning kindness attracts kindness. Please share our videos, subscribe. Thank you.